So why is it important for you to allow your spirit to guide you even when it comes to doing business? So I've had the opportunity to build a business from the ground up, zero sales whatsoever, to doing billions of dollars every single year. I want to share with you some of the lessons that I've learned that helped us have meteoric rise and also asteroid decline. And I think that, having tactics is absolutely great. We figured out how to sell. We figured out how to create leads, right? We figured out how to create leads. This is called leads. We figured out how to do all that stuff, right? And then after that, we figured out what time to answer the phone, what software to use, all these other different kinds of things. We had all these systems, all these little things working together. We had something over here for our telemarketers on the phone. We had over here our underwriters. We had over here our risk analysts, right? We have over here, this is CS, right? Underwriters, risk analysts, right? Telemarketers over here. We have over here our salespeople, right? We have over here tech support, right? So when you have all these things, these are all the tactical things that you need to do, like the sales, the marketing, all that stuff to run a business efficiently. Now, the next thing you got to do is how do you get all of this to work together, right? And that's where you come up with what we call systems, right? And when you have these systems, you need to have a strategy for all of it to work, right? So all those things that I had on the previous board, all of these are their own system unto itself. Telemarketing has a system. Customer service, they have their own system. They may use like different software programs and things like that. Underwriting has their own system. They all have their own software. Everybody has their own systems. So now what you need over here, you have the systems, you need the strategy to put it together. Boom, that's the next level, right? And then after that, you have the next level, which is, your principles, right? What are your principles in a business, right? So, this is horrible handwriting, right? So some of your principles in a business would be simple things like following the systems on top of that, but a lot of your principles in a business aren't really necessarily principles per se. What they really are, contracts, right? And agreements. Because it doesn't really matter how principled you are in a business, and I see this all the time. Most employees, let me just say many employees who work for a business will ignore their principles because they have to abide by the contracts, the terms and conditions, the agreements, and the policies that are written in the company. So you can come here, the most lofty person in the world, you say, well, you know what? I'm not going to oversell, or I don't think the client really needs this, so I'm not going to sell it to them. Yes, you better sell it to them, or you may lose your job. That's how most companies work, right? If you're at Foot Locker, or I shouldn't even mention any names, Neiman Marcus, you could be at any company in the world, right? And I'm not saying just those companies. Let's say you're at the company called X, and someone walks in there. Your job as a person on the floor is to sell them something, whether they need it or not. And you hear that in many cases where you hear some people say that they think their product is for everybody in the world, which I don't understand that. How can somebody have a product that's for everybody in the world? I would feel like it's not unique or it's not for anybody if it's for everybody, because I know for sure I'm not a person who's gonna go buy a Big Mac. So that product is not for me, right? I'm not gonna go buy a Whopper or any of that stuff, right? Those things are not for me. Certain clothes aren't for me. Certain cars aren't for me. Certain homes aren't for me. Certain people aren't for me. Certain music is not for me. Certain courses aren't for me. Certain coaches are not for me. Certain accountants, a ton of attorneys aren't for me, right? There's a couple that maybe are. Certain banks aren't for me as well. So everything can't be for everybody. But to the point, and let's say you're an attorney and you have certain principles as an attorney, but the American Bar Association, they have their own set of principles that attorneys must abide by. So as an example, let's say you're convicted of a crime. You're convicted of murder. When you go out and hire an attorney, if that attorney accepts you as a client, it is their duty and obligation to do the best they can to defend you. But what if you committed the crime, right? Anybody can hire an attorney, anybody. And that attorney will do whatever they have to do to defend you because you have paid them. So do they have principles per se? Or are their principles based upon the principles of the American Bar Association? Or are their principles based upon the contracts and agreements of the company that they work for, or work with rather? So that's the other level. Now, I think the highest level is when, and my coach has taught me this as well, his name is Myron Golden, and he taught me the highest level I think he says it's of learning or teaching is essence, right? That's the highest level. I think that we should always be learning and we should always be teaching, right? And when you get to this level of essence, I think that you are being led by a higher power. And when you're being led by a higher power, it allows you to see all kinds of blind spots that you don't normally see. Now, what do I mean by that? Some people call it instincts. Some people call it intuition, right? There's many different names, and some people think that they're following instincts and intuition, and they've been watching too many soap operas and too many movies, and they're being conditioned to do certain things, but they think they're following their intuition. So I'm not talking about that. I mean that when you're really being guided, right? And I can't say who's being guided and who's not being guided, but sometimes you could be in the most difficult situation, right? Where you can't figure things out. You have attorneys to the left, attorneys to the right. You got bankers in front of you. You got bankers behind you. You have greedy business partners coming at you this way. You have clients who are like, they don't care about none of that. They just want to get their money. You have your sales team who are coming at you like, dude, I don't care about none of that either. Just pay me my dinero. Then you have team members who are coming from all sides who are like, listen, we don't care either because we are guided by our principles, which are based upon contracts and agreements and of whoever they work with. So when you're in those kind of situations, it's really hard to figure out what exactly to do. You can't just go out and hire any attorney off the street because any other attorney off the street may not operate at this level where they have certain morals, and it doesn't matter what religion they are, in my opinion, but there's a certain guide that moves them, that they lead by. So there's certain clients that they won't take as an attorney. There's certain people that they will not defend regardless to you trying to hire them or how much money you pay them. There's certain staff members who won't screw people over because they're being guided here regardless to your agreements, regardless to your contracts, right? You have certain salespeople that won't oversell to you. They won't misrepresent, right? And you have certain people on all walks of life who are guided by this first, not by, I don't even know if I can draw this. This is the dollar. Well, let's just call it $100 bill. I'm just gonna call it dollar, right? Whatever. You know what I mean, right? And so when people are guided here, this is like at the base level, right? Some people step it up a level and get to the strategic level, right? Then some people try to operate by principles. But when you guide in here, this oversees it all. And you will find that when you're guided here, the right people will be sent to you, right? The wrong people will be basically, will be repelled to you. They may be around you because you're operating at this level at one moment, but then when you begin operating at a totally different level, when you get a different frame of thought, a different mission, you're gonna see that everything changes around you. And there's nothing wrong with that. Don't be afraid, don't be scared, be guided by that. See where it takes you, but make sure that you're not being guided by a whole bunch of other stuff out there. Make sure it's the actual true essence, that true, some people call it the Most High, some people call it God, some people call it Allah, Yahweh, whatever term it is you give, make sure that that's guiding you because that will take you and that will protect you in ways that man's law can't protect you, in ways that contracts can't protect you. Some protect you. Sometimes you just have to sit down and be still. And as the book says, know that I am God, or just be still and meditate, right? Or just take your walk in the park, whatever it is that you do to clear your mind out so that divine thoughts can enter into your mind so that you can get that true intuition that says, you know what? Don't go on that date, right? Don't become business partners with that person. Don't even go out tonight. Stay home and read a book, right? Don't do this, don't do that. Or it may tell you to go on that date or to get into that business venture, right? But at least you're being guided as opposed to being influenced by other people who may be operating at the tactical level. You follow me? So I hope this helps. Let me know what you think. Subscribe to this. If you have any other questions about business, how it relates to business, how you want to help grow your business, you need to get help in protecting your cash flow, any payment processing questions. And I know I'm all over the place, but thanks for tuning in. This is Khaazra. Be good.